the opportunity to come together as community. We give you thanks for this community and how you continue to protect and watch over us. We ask that you be in everything that we say and do. In your son Jesus' name and for Christ's sake we do pray. Amen and amen.
All right, thank you, Pastor Chapman, for that prayer. And so now we're going to have a welcome and our purpose from Dr. Scott.
She had already welcomed everybody, so again, welcome to our event today. This has been the last 13 years we've been working really hard on getting the word out to the community in reference to what's going on here on the northwest side, especially on Kirkendall, where we have all the tanks there where we live. And I've been living there, let's say, for 13 years. I was probably about the third person that moved on Kirkendall. But today's town hall meeting is more to just educate you on what's there. The tanks are there, they're not going away. But we want to be able to know how to take care of ourselves better with our health problems. Thank everyone for coming out today. And I hope you enjoyed and hope you learned a lot today.
All right, and once again, I am Dr. Williams, and I'm just going to share a little bit about S.A.F.E Diversity. A lot of you probably already know what the S.A.F.E mean, which is Student and Family Empowerment, and so that is what we do is so we empower our students, but we do have a program that we do. It is a 12-month program that we do with our students. So we have from kindergarten all the way up through 12th grade that we have in our program that are in our spring ISD or schools, also HISD schools. And so we have also branched out. We have students that are also in the DFW area. So it is not just Houston. We are trying to branch out and be able to have a voice all around the world, actually. So that will come to pass. But just a little bit about what we do. So we have our students that are, like I said, from kindergarten through the 5th grade. They are our toddlers, tiny tots, and so. But we have young ladies and young men that work with our students at that young age, and then we have our 6th grade through 12th grade. And so myself and Miss Pamela Foote, we work with those students every single month. They do a 200-word essay every single month in art. And so we have businesses that have partnered with us that help, and they, showcase our students' artwork. They also will give different prizes for our students. Sometimes it is a cash prize that they get. Sometimes it is actually things from, bakery. Like we have different partners that we have will donate different things for us to be able to use as incentives for our students. And so we're super excited about that. But we also do have our college ambassadors. Which we started that probably about 2 years ago because we have our students who we follow them throughout their, high school and then on to college. And so, we were noticing that, the students were still in need of, things. And so how could we, as an organization, be able to support those students? And just with, a lot of prayer, we had partners and businesses that said, okay, I'm willing to support, I'm willing to give her, adopt a student or to donate for a scholarship. And so that's how that began. And so we're super excited that we have that because we're able to follow those students throughout their college career. And so I noticed that we do have students in the audience. And so I'm going to ask if you are an ambassador and you are that 6th grade through 12th grade, if you would just stand at this time and just give us a wave. Yay! Okay, so these ladies, they are from Westfield High School, which is right across the street. One of them is our intern, and so we have these young ladies here. We have others that are from Westfield. They are actually taking the ACT, or is it PSAT? SAT. They're taking a test today, so if they were not, they would be here, but we are super excited that we're able to go into the schools and be a part. So if you are we do have a senior, you want to raise your hand? He's back there in the back helping put up signs, but that's Jordan Williams, and he is a senior this year. And so if you are a college student, if you would please stand. Okay, we want to give these young ladies and young men a round of applause because they have been with our program and they are in college. And so we are super excited. I know that we do have several that have already graduated and they come back and they are a part of this organization and they give of their time and talents and gifts and abilities. And so we cannot be more proud of these students. So we not only have college students that are here in Houston, but we have college students that are in Waco at Baylor. We have college student that's in UNT. They're in Denton. And so one of the things that we're able to do is we partner with these students while they're in college. So we go, if they're in extracurricular activities, we go and we support them. I know I'm in the DFW area, and so those students that are there in that area, me and my family, we go and we visit them and we check on them and see how they are doing, if there's anything that they need, because sometimes, when you're at college, sometimes all you need is just a friendly face. You need a friendly face and you need some food. A whole lot of food and money. Reverend Carwell over there saying, yes, money. And so, but yes, so in our college students, they're able to do a 200-word essay on different topics that we choose. And then we also do the environmental piece. And so on that note, I am going to bring up Dr. Sandra Scott, and she's going to talk with you all more about our environmental piece. But we are super excited that we're able to do this, and then we have partners that donate funds and different things for our students that participate and write those 200-word essays, which I'm telling you, they are some amazing essays. I get to read them. I don't get to judge them anymore, but I get to read them, and some of them are just so amazing. So
good morning, everyone, and thank you again for your patience. Thank you, Dr. Williams. A lot of doctors here today. Okay, don't get sick, because we're not those kind of doctors, FYI. But anyway, we are here, and the culmination of the reason why we are here is environmental equity and justice. Just by way of introduction, I am the Environmental Equity and Justice Committee chairperson with S.A.F.E Diversity, and I'm also the college ambassador coordinator with S.A.F.E Diversity. And as Zenobia said, really S.A.F.E Diversity Communities is an organization for families and their children and the community. And I will say, and I'm not a statistician, but I'm going to say 70% of what we do is for the kids by way of scholarships. Environmental is a program that we instituted, although, as Dr. Thelma Scott had alluded to, this is something she's been involved with for many years. But as far as S.A.F.E Diversity Communities, the organization, we have really come full circle and have come gung-ho on environmental equity and justice, and let me just throw in climate justice as well within the last few years. So this past summer, by way of just prelude to what we're going to be seeing in just a few moments, we were able to embark upon a program that we could involve our kids, because you can do something for today for yourself, but you're not really doing anything if you cannot affect the lives of the generations that come behind you. So what we did, we took some of our students to New York for Climate Justice Week, and we were really part of the Deep South Week, but I'll talk about that briefly just a little bit later. Let me just back up and tell you about the project that we had on this summer. It was sort of a threefold project. First of all, we wanted to interview the community at large with regards to their knowledge of environmental justice and equity and what impacts it has made on their lives personally and in their communities. Excuse me. Then we wanted to show the community what industries and what things that's happening in the community with, that affects their water, their air, and their physical bodies, okay? And then of course, I talked about showing the folks firsthand, I'm talking about our kids, what it looks like to be an advocate for environmental equity and justice. And this is the culminating event, this town hall meeting, where we are going to sort of show you what we did with the video documentation and talk to you a little bit about the interviewing process. But before I do that, I want our interviewers, because we had several folks on the team, the Environmental Equity and Justice team for the summer, which took place from June through August. And of course, now we're doing our final project that involved this particular event. So we have I want our college students to stand that were our interviewers. We have Naya and Layla and David that actually went out, and we have two others that were not able to be here, but they actually did the interviews in the community. They did interviews particularly at one of the communities that we're going to highlight in the short video, as well as those individuals that joined us on the toxic tour.
Hi, my name is Layla Harper. I am going to the Lone Star College, University Park, and I am getting my accounting degree.
Hello, my name is David Grimaldo, and I'm attending Lone Star College at Tomball, and right now I'm going for my degree in kinesiology and exercise science.
Hello, my name is Jordan Williams. I'm a student at Sam Houston High School in Arlington, Texas, and I am one day hoping to be a forensic scientist.
Hi, my name is Naya Harper. I attend the University of Houston Central Campus, and I'm studying nutrition as well as pharmacy.
Hey, thanks everybody. Josiah Williams here. I'm a part of the J&J Autism Voices group. And that is all.
Thank you, that's great. That's great. That's J&J Autism Voices. And one of the things that we want you guys, the audience in general, to know that although our students gave you a preponderance of information with regards to what they're doing as career paths go, but we want to let them know that there are so many jobs in the environmental equity field. Yes, clap, clap, clap. That's the thing. Now, I know that we have some accountants and some forensic scientists and some accountants, but there are so many organizations out there that can use those skill sets, right? You don't have to be an environmental engineer or a scientist or anything like that, but just know that there are a multiplicity of jobs that are out there, and that's one of the things that we do within our program, is to let kids know. We have speakers that come. Dr. Scott makes sure that we have someone that comes from the environmental field to talk to our kids, to let them know that there are career paths and to show them those things that they can really go out and do to be active citizens in our society and to help environmental equity and justice. So what we're going to do now at this point, I told you about the project. I told you that we were working towards making our documentary. I was waiting for our documentary coordinator to get here and a couple of other members on our team, but we're going to go ahead and get started because we know we want to be respectful of everyone's time today. But before I do that, just for a quick poll, I see your hand, Dr. Scott, just a quick poll. How many of you work directly by way of an organization or advocacy, environmental equity and justice? Just raise your hand. Okay, great. And I think we're going to introduce everyone individually later. Now, how many of you are just part of the community at large? You're not familiar with environmental equity and justice. You may have just heard about it, but you're just a member of the community. Raise your hand. Great, great. And the reason I say that, because the folks that raised their hands previously, when we talk, we're preaching to the choir. That's a vernacular. In other words, people that are already vested and know what this is about. Our thing is, we want to let those folks that do not know what environmental equity and justice is something, it's a clear and present danger that we live with every day. And we want the community to know. And why is that important? Well, November 5th is important, and I won't get on that soapbox, but environmental equity and justice, if you've been doing your due diligence on this election, there are certain people that have certain ideas about climate change, the oil and gas industry, and those things. So it's going to affect you no matter where you sit. And as Dr. Caldwell always says, and I'm sure he'll say this later, but I love to quote him, if you don't have a seat at the table or even a say at the table, then you become the meal. So with that said, Dr. Scott wants me to do something before we go directly to the film.
I just wanted to say that our new program, well, we've been having Spring ISD for 24 years, but this year is a special program. We will have all 5 high schools, we will have a paid intern on that campus. That intern will work with 10 students on campus. She will educate the students on environmental equity and climate justice. That's what they'll get credit for. So I'm going to introduce, she's the intern, and this is one of her students that she's going to be teaching environmental justice. We want to be able to put it through the district for everybody can understand how important it is to know about environment and equity and justice, because so many of the schools in Spring ISD are built next to some of the tanks that we live by. So they're not educated what's going on, what infect their health. But each one of these students, paid intern on the campus, will be able to educate the other students on the campus about environmental equity and climate justice. So, y'all want to say something? Just say hello to everyone, okay? I just want you to know what we're doing and what we're fighting for funding for our scholarship program. And let me say something. Dr. Scott, thank you so much, because Dr. Scott helped us to get into all the districts in Spring ISD to get this program started. Thank you, Dr. Sandra Scott. Give her a hand.
So hello, my name is Marina Rodriguez. I am a senior at Westwood High School, and yeah.
Hello, my name is Araceli Salazar, and I am also a senior at Westwood High School.
Thank you. Give our seniors a hand. Look, the Profit Scholarship. Okay. I'm also an ED at an education foundation in Spring, so I told them apply for those scholarships. You should never leave any money on the table. That's what I tell our young folk. And yes, we're working on an environmental equity and justice curriculum that hopefully we can push to the districts so that once again we can educate the next generation. Nick Jones, who's taking the pictures, wave your hand, Nick. Nick, along with Adam Tatum, worked on this film that he's about to play for you. So for the next few minutes, we're going to ask that you put your eyes on this monitor. Hopefully we can get the other one up and watch the film. And then I'll come back to you later for some discourse about that. Thank you. Okay, so what do you all think about that? Yeah, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs up, thumbs down, nothing? Okay, all righty. But this video will be online through Safe Diversity Community's website, and we'll be glad to share it with other organizations as well. Adam Tatum just came in. He was the young man that sort of directed it along with Nick. So let's give them a hand. Nick Jones and Adam Tatum. So now we're going to move right along, and we'll get an opportunity to talk more about that later. One of the churches that was mentioned, and when we did our toxic tour, well, we called it a solidarity tour. Let me rephrase that. In the Angleton area, he's here today, so stand up, Pastor. We're glad to have you as well here on today, and hopefully you can stay later for some questions and let us know what impact that this had in your community, as well as some things that you are going to be doing locally in your area as well. So at this time, we have some speakers that I'm going to ask to come forward as we transition to the next part of this forum. Dr. Liza Powers, PhD. Thank you. She works for the Bullitt Center, Environmental and Climate Justice. I want to say department, but that sort of diminishes what they do, at Texas Southern University. And her topic is going to be environmental justice and underground storage tanks. Also, I'm going to ask Juan Flores to come. He's with Air Alliance Houston, and he's going to talk about air pollution. And then our last speaker will be, for this portion, is Becky Smith. She's with Clean Water Action, and her topic is going to be water pollution. So with that, I am going to step aside and let them each make their presentations, and then after the presentations, I'll be back with you. Thank you.
Like I was introduced, I'm Liza Powers. I'm with the Bullard Center for Environmental and Climate Justice, and I wanted to talk to you guys about things that I've learned about your neighborhood. Ms. Thelma Scott called me, and she was talking about her storage facilities that are next door, so I kind of went exploring in some of the federal tools to look at it. Oh, do you want me to use the, I can come in. Oh, maybe I could just do it over here. Just get the first one, Josh, and then this. Oh, okay. I can just, oh. Yeah. We can, okay. Okay. So I kind of wanted to talk to you guys also about environmental justice and how that impacts some of the placement of these facilities that we see in people's neighborhoods. To kind of start that, environmental justice largely is The tipping off point for that is when Dr. Martin Luther King went to Memphis. When he was assassinated, the reason that he was there was for a sanitation strike. The workers there were not only striking for higher pay, but they were having safety issues. There were on-the-job death rates that were inexcusable. If you were a white American and it was raining, you got to go home with pay. If you were a black American that was working, if you wanted to get paid, you had to work that day. And so there were deaths there, and that is part of the cornerstone to environmental justice is safety in terms of your work and where you play and where you live. Dr. Robert Bullard worked on a lawsuit. His wife was the lawyer, and it started him on a journey. He has been doing this since the year I was born. So that's how long this kind of effort has been going on. Here in Houston, there was another facility that was going to be placed a landfill in a black American community, and only 25% of the population in Houston was black American, but almost 100% of your city incinerators, your landfills, everything was in black American communities. Also in 1982, we see in Warren County, North Carolina, a predominantly black community was faced with a landfill of highly toxic PCBs, and they protested. All of this is to say that any kind of achievements that we've seen in the environmental justice movement are really due to grassroots organizations like S.A.F.E Diversity. Your voices are super critical to the movement. Because of that, you see mainstream conversations happen throughout different presidencies where you have programs. The latest one with President Biden, where he's offering something known as the Justice 40 initiative, which means that 40% of all funding needs to go to these communities that have been overlooked for generations. Part of this fossil fuel history that we see is that it's occurring predominantly in the Jim Crow South, where oil is discovered and there's already this systemic racism in place that disenfranchise and disempower communities. We still have to kind of look at voting and how that works for people today. There are so many ways in which state and local governments try to stifle voting, and this has been a generational issue that we've seen. Texas basically has a lot of, they do a lot in the methane gas industry. A lot of them call it natural gas, and natural is a way that the fossil fuel industry has made it seem like it's safe and clean, and it is not clean. Texas leads the nation in crude oil and methane gas. We also, in Texas, have 1/3 of the national refining output capacity. We lead the nation in terms of deaths related to fossil fuels, and we are the nation's largest state, largest emissions of greenhouse gases. So here are some statistics or some numbers that should make us all kind of feel a little bit uncomfortable today, and why it's so important that we have these conversations. When you look at Fidslide residents that are closest to storage facilities of explosion or highly flammable chemicals, in terms of the natural average, the home value there is 33% less or below than national average. Your average income is 22% below, and you see predominantly people of color. Black Americans represent 75% more, greater than the national average. Latino Americans are at 60% greater, and the poverty rate is 50%. So what I want to talk to you about is kind of what I found from your local area right next to Ms. Scott's home is the Bammel Gas Facility. It is a methane gas reservoir. Now we have two types of reservoirs that you see. One is a salt cavern, and that they use the salt from the earth to create that. And then you also have the depleted reservoirs. The Bammel one is a depleted reservoir, which means it was previously used for oil production, and they refurbished it to store this gas. It is the third largest one with base gas. So what base gas means is they have to keep it at a certain level for the pressure to be okay. If it gets any lower or higher, lower than that, there could be problems. There could be leaks, there could be blowouts. So that is concerning that you'll have such a large base gas reservoir in your neighborhood. And it is the third largest volume of working gas capacity, total field capacity, and max daily capacity. And that's basically the withdrawal and the inner workings. What is this gas used for? Winter Storm Uri. It's cold. It's supposed to be an overflow that they can keep things moving in terms of electricity. There's been some incidents at this Bammel facility, and it today still impacts your water quality. So that's why it's important to know. I mean, some of this is, it feels like, especially if you're in high school, it feels like a long time ago. But in 1942 to 1945, there was a blowout that compromised freshwater aquifers in the neighborhood. In 1978, there was some groundwater contamination from a subsurface, meaning we didn't see it at ground level, that caused issues. And then in 1999, a boy went to go fish in a pond, and he realized the pond didn't look right. So they found unusual characteristics that this facility has impacted water quality. Okay, so let's talk about the environmental justice risk to methane gas. Here are some studies that have been done on it. Historically, red-line neighborhoods are twice as likely to have active and inactive gas wells. Methane gas leaks are 30% greater in people of color neighborhoods. And areas with older pipelines and infrastructure also tend to be in communities of color. There's air quality impacts. I'm not going to speak too much on that because we have an air and water person here today. But methane gas can release air pollution, toxics into the air. We do see that for fine particulate matter, Black Americans are 1.54 times more likely to breathe in this exposure, and Hispanic Americans are 1.2 times more likely. There's also water quality issues that come, obviously, especially in this community. There are issues with groundwater contamination. And there was a study done that said that there is a water main break every 2 minutes in the United States due to aging infrastructure. Methane emissions, which come from these types of facilities, also contribute to climate change. The people that experience climate change, such as extreme heat, flooding, first and worst are the communities close to these facilities. And a couple of slides below, I told you guys they're predominantly people of color and low-income communities. So that is why it's also important to combine this conversation with what it's doing to our climate. During Hurricane Harvey, the lower socioeconomic groups as well as Black Americans suffered the worst. And that's because of the storm water flooding that happened in their neighborhoods. Also, Black Americans they have a 40% increased risk to dying from extreme heat. So let's talk about your community. This is what I looked at from some of the federal tools such as the EJ screen. Your air, and I looked at it from a 3-mile radius of the BAML facility. So your air, you are in non-attainment, but I think everyone, even if you traveled in from Brazoria County, Houston, Galveston, we're all in the same boat with that air attainment. Impaired waters within a 3-mile radius yes, there are impaired waters here. You guys qualify for the Biden infrastructure, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act. You are considered a Justice 40 community based on things like this. I looked at the 3-mile radius. It's about 135,000 people that live around the BAML facility. Now, 100 is the worst score that you can have here. So non-English is at the 41st percentile. What's interesting about your community is different from some other communities in Houston is the non-English is Spanish, Vietnamese, and Arabic. That is what is being spoken primarily at the home, and you're at the 41st percentile. Low income is also, but the people of color is at the 84. So that's what makes this an environmental justice community. Also, if you look at these scores, again, 100 is not a good score, so you're inching really close to 100 for all of these factors. Your particulate matter, your ozone, wastewater discharge, drinking water noncompliance. These are all things that make us need to come together today and have this conversation.
My name is Haley Schultz, and I'm a Houston organizer with Public Citizen. We help advocate for the public in the halls of Congress, bringing policy to the people. But we work in the communities on target issues regarding energy, environment, and ethics. And I am based in Fort Bend County, so I do a lot of campaign and initiatives across Harris County and Fort Bend. But if you have any questions, I would love to meet with you and talk about any of your environmental or equity concerns. So thank you so much.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jamie Lawson, Community Outreach Chair with the Houston Climate Movement. We're a coalition of concerned citizens, activists, community organizers, NGOs, and climate and environment experts, and many of you here are part of that coalition. And if you're here, you're part of that coalition whether you know it or not, because we're working hard for you. We're intersectional, intergenerational. I have 2 quick announcements. One is I have been accepted to the South Central EPA's TICTAC Community Advisory Committee. The TICTAC, they are centers that were set up to help with this historic amount of funding for Justice 40 and the IRA. So they set up these centers called Thriving Community Technical Assistance Center. They will work with you from any point that you're on a project, and these grants encourage collaboration among different community organizations, whether you're a 501c3 or not. So my job, one, is to go back and tell them about the experiences you're having applying for these grants, and also to bring the information to you. So please come see me if you have questions about that. I've never been nervous on a microphone. This is weird. The second thing is December 13th, 6 to 9 at the Shrine of the Black Madonna. We will host the first annual 2024 Community Partner Awards, and we are very happy to have S.A.F.E Diversities be a sponsor for that event, so thank you very much to them. The award recipients are nominated by the community. It's open for you to nominate. We are still looking for sponsors because we want to make it a great event. Registration is open, and if you want more information, just come see me. Thank you.
Hi, I am Kiara Kearns. I'm co-founder of the organization called the Give Gala. We are an organization that supports various causes in in our local community here in Houston. We are supporting this year foster youth with an annual gala called the Golden Gala, and so we will be supporting an organization called Love Fosters Hope this year. But we hope to support many organizations in our local community, like S.A.F.E and other organizations. So I'm welcome to network with any organizations that are wanting to provide me some additional information about their causes and sponsorship and grant opportunities. So thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Josue Ureno. I am an environmental justice organizer with Mi Familia en Acción here in Houston. Mi Familia en Acción is a national nonprofit organization. We work with a lot of different programs, one of them being environmental justice, youth leadership, as well as citizenship. I currently run the environmental one here in Houston. I see a lot of familiar faces such as Haley and Omer, who I knew through coalitions that we work with together, and I'm excited to be involved in this position and see what comes forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Isn't that wonderful? So there are a lot of workers in the field, and I encourage you to reach out to them. Keandra Tatum, raise your hand, is our public relations coordinator, and I want each one of these organizations to at least speak to her or give her your card. We're going to move on with our speakers, and then our other organization members will be welcome to come back. I was looking for your. Okay, come on.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Juan Flores. I am born and raised here in Houston. I live in Galena Park. I've been there since I was 4 years old. Pollution has been part of my life ever as far as I can remember back. Living in Galena Park, surrounded by refineries, the port, and all that. You know, my father working at a refinery for 20 years in Baytown. So pollution has always been part of my life. Of course, it's not a good thing, but it's something that's been around. You know, being here in Houston, it's part of life. So I gave this presentation at the EPA conference in New Orleans a couple months ago, and I'm going to just share some highlights of it. But as you guys know, Houston is the energy capital of the world. We know that. We live it every day. And we have to live with it. You know, it has its good things. It has its bad things, industry-wise, jobs, money, and all that. But then our communities, we have to live the other side of it, which is our health effects, the bad smells, and all the stuff that goes around with it. So it's a combination of different things. So I'll go to the next slide. What's important about trying to educate our community, okay? Most of you guys know, hey, look, there's a refinery down over there. You know, there's a concrete batch plant right next to me. You know, all these things are out here, but a lot of people don't understand what these things do to you. You know, a lot of people don't even know what they're producing. I mean, I've gone to people's homes like, hey, look, that's Chevron right there. Do you know what they make? They make gas. I'm like, well, yeah, they do, but they do a little bit more than that. Education is very important, and the stuff is in your communities, and a lot of times people don't understand what it is, and that's why it's very important that we educate our community, do the research, and let people know what's going on so we have a chance to be able to organize and fight against them. It's very important. And just a map of the Houston area, big, you know, Houston counties. It's not just the Chip Channel area, it's the north side of Houston, the south side, go down to Angleton, go up north to Conroe. All that stuff is everywhere. You know, our communities here are taking it pretty hard because we're real close to it, but pollution affects everybody no matter where you live at, what your economic level is, everything. We're all human and we're all affected by this. Next slide, please. It's not moving. Just go to the next one. Okay, so what is it here in Houston? Energy capital. Refineries is an issue. Transportation, we got freeways all around us. We have a lot more that affects us here in Houston. And Houston has no zoning. That's the problem we have here in Houston and surrounding areas. I just found out the city of Pasadena, Texas doesn't have zoning. So, you know, we need to stay on top of it because before you know it, you can have a concrete batch plant built in the middle of your neighborhood and you might not know it until it's already up. And that's why it's important that we stay vigilant because once these things get built, they're hard to get rid of. But they're easier to fight them before they get built. But that's why you got to stay vigilant and stay on top of it because if not, by the time it's built, it's that much harder. And then we have very little support sometimes from our community governments. Okay, I'm not going to pick at any particular one other than the state of Texas. TCEQ has always giving me a hard time, but, they have these permit hearings, and it's like, you almost know they're going to give it to them anyway, and we're out there fighting and talking mess and, saying how bad it is, and, but we have to fight those battles, because if we don't fight them ourselves, we live here. We need to fight this, because if we don't, who else is? We have organizations that come in from outside of Houston trying to help us, but at the end of the day, guys, we're the ones that live here. We live in this community. Who would care more about our community than us? That's why it's important that we organize and we fight and do the best that we can. So, and ourselves is our communities. We have started building these community air monitoring networks, okay? The problem I had growing up as a kid, or even now living in Galena Park, and I know you guys have it here next to the gas farm you guys live next to, it's like, it smells. It smells at 2 a.m. You smell it. You're like, okay, let me call TCEQ. Let me call the city of Houston. By the time they show up, which could be an hour, 3 hours later, it could be the next day. By the time they show up, the smell is gone. And it's like, at that point, it's my word against the industry's words. And usually they're going to support the industry way before they support us. So that's why we started building these air monitoring networks here in Houston. Because now we want to have our own science to go against theirs, so we have a better shot at it. So it's very important that we as a community organize, and we've been building these networks around the Houston area because we want to have our data, because it feels good when you call TCEQ, you call Harris County, hey, guess what? It smells, blah, blah, blah. They show up, oh, by the way, here's our data. Here's our citizen science. Bust that, you know what I'm saying? It's not the old days no more. We're getting more and more better at what we do. Technology is getting better, and we as a community, we're going to get better to defend ourselves. So it's very important. So we started building these networks all around the Houston area. I currently have one monitor, Dr. Delma Scott in the back. I have a monitor at her house. I'm going to show you some of that data, Dr. Scott, here in a little bit. I'll show it to you. But just overall, guys, we're building these networks around Houston. I have networks in Baytown, have them in Galena Park, Pasadena, Northside, Cashmere Gardens. So we have about 9 neighborhoods we're working in now. We're trying to spread out more, but this costs money, so we're kind of limited sometimes on what we can do, but hopefully we'll get more funding to expand these networks and make them a little more in-depth and give every community needs it a chance to have it. This is very important. Now, I'm going to tell you straight up. Talking about air pollution, guys, it's not the sexiest, greatest thing to talk about, because I've been in rooms like this where I'm like, okay, guys, let's talk about VOCs. They look at you like, okay. Let's talk about PM. They're looking at you weird. It's like, because this stuff is not the easiest thing to talk about. Once I start talking about chemicals, it's like, okay, what is that? So it's not the easiest thing for us to do, but we do our best to try to let people know, hey, guys, this is what's in your neighborhood. This is what you're breathing in. And even though it doesn't affect you right away, sometimes it could be years before it affects you, but it will get to you. And I'm testament to that, guys. About 2 years ago, I went to the doctor, and they were like, Juan, your kidney function is down. I was like, really? I'm 45 years old already? Okay. And they did more testing on me, and they're like, Juan, you have an M spike in your blood. And I was like, I have no idea what an M spike is. I had no idea. And then they're like, and by the way, Juan, there's a chance you might have myeloma. And I was like, I still didn't know what that was. I had no idea. It wasn't until I got to my car that I looked it up, and it was like, oh my God, it's a blood cancer. I had no idea. So after all this testing that I went through, my kidneys are functioning at 58% now. And luckily with some changes that I did in my diet, I got it up to 68% now. But all this stuff to say is, I've been living in Galena Park since I was 4 years old. I smelled it. Benzene is something that's a prevalent chemical that's over in the Chip Channel area. It's produced a lot around Galena Park, Baytown, Pasadena. After bringing this stuff in for so many years, I'm starting to show signs of what's happening to me, okay? I don't have full-blown myeloma right now, I don't. I was diagnosed with MGUS, a precursor to myeloma, saying that I have this protein in my blood that eventually can become myeloma. I have to be checked out every 6 months as they're watching it for it, because it could become myeloma here very soon. And what causes myeloma and these blood cancers? A lot of times it's being exposed to chemicals such as benzene, butadiene, hydrogen cyanide, all these chemicals that are, You probably don't know what they are and what they do, but all this stuff is in the air and it will catch up to you. And I'm a living testament to that because for me, this battle on pollution is personal. Believe me, these chemical plants out here know who I am, and I love to fight with them. I like to go back and forth with them because this affects me on a personal level. I have my daughter in the back. She was born with cancer. She went through chemo and all this stuff. So like I said, this is personal for me, and I grew up in Houston, and I want to bring this to the communities to try to help out. So it's important, guys. And education is the key, and we want to work on getting that information to you and do our best to explain to you what it is, okay? Now, Maria, if you want to switch over to the next slide, show. So let me show you some information that's related to your neighborhood. And okay, there you go, perfect. This is the air monitor I have at Dr. Doma Scott's house. I've had it there for going on 3 years. If you can go to the next slide. Okay, look, before we go, you see those two air monitors? That one is an APIS air monitor, and the one at the bottom is a purple air. The smaller one is the one that we have at Dr. Doma Scott's house. That one is measuring particulate matter. PM is a very small little particle. They're in the air. It's kind of like a dust-like thing. That stuff is in the air. You bring that stuff in. You breathe it in through your nose or mouth. It goes into your lungs, and eventually it accumulates, and then where the blood and the air hit and they convert, that stuff goes into your blood, guys, and it causes a lot of problems. And with time, you can get cancer of the lungs. You can get cancer of the blood, like I could possibly have here soon. All this stuff is there, and just because you don't see this stuff, and just because you don't smell it, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, guys. It's there. You just don't see it, and it might take years for you to get something come out of it, but it will. People that have asthma, people that have these respiratory issues, they'll tell you because they feel it before we even do, and it's very important. So this is a map of, you see out there where it says purple air cypress wood? That is Miss Doma Scott's home, okay? We did an analysis of the area, and it shows you all the industry in the area. And of course, you guys know the BAMO Energy Transfer is right there, and everything is there. Well, this information I can share with you, and it shows you all the other industry homes. Everything is here, tells you about this area. Next slide, please. So, as I was saying, PM, that's a piece of hair, okay? Regular piece of strand of hair. That shows you how small it is. These particles, 2.5 is so small, you can line those particles around a hair strand to show you how small. They're very, very small. And you're bringing this stuff in all the time. You just don't feel it. Next slide, please. So PM comes out of refineries. It can come out of concrete batch plants. It could come out of cars that are going in the area. All this stuff contributes to lung diseases, asthma, cancer, strokes. All this stuff is part of what PM costs to you. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is her air monitor. This is a 24-hour threshold, okay, averages, all right? You can see the red line. That shows you what the EPA says PM should not pass, okay? If you notice here, there's been a couple of spikes that passed that red line, meaning during those times, over at Dr. Doma Scott House, it was high PM, and the people who live in the area would bring that in. This is just 24-hour averages. Go to the next slide. Okay? This shows you that at her location, from midnight till about 9 a.m. in the morning is the peak of when the majority of the PM is spiking in her area. So it shows you in detail there, and it's passing the EPA standard very much so, especially around 8 a.m. It's about the peak of it. So we know that much. Next slide, please. Okay, these are the monthly averages, okay? That red line, again, represents the EPA threshold. As you can see, by looking at this, that threshold is above the EPA line almost every month except for, what is that, July? It wasn't that bad. November, it wasn't that bad. And maybe even July. So something about July is like, I guess the month that PM is not as high over in this particular area. So as you can see, on the monthly gauge to it, the PM there is off the chain. You know, you're bringing this stuff in, it's going in your lungs, and this is proof to it. Next slide, please. We've had this monitor at her locations in 2022, and the trend is the PM is going up. It's been 3 years, it's going up and going up. So it's showing you that all these particles in this area continues to go and grow, and it's becoming more of an issue, more of a hazard. Next slide, please. So that's just the EPA standards, what it shows. So this is just one monitor that we have. This is the monitor as Dr. Thelma Scott's home, but I have over 60 of these monitors spread out all around the Houston area, and it's not easy for me to keep track of all of them, so I can't tell you I'm sitting on my computer looking at them all day, trying to see what's going on. I can't. There's too many of them. And I can go all the way from Baytown, Channelview. I can go up north side to Spring. I can go all the way down south to Angleton to see what's going on. It's a big area for me to cover. I do the best that we can, but our goal is to build these networks, and we want to educate the community so you can use this tool. We have a dashboard coming out here in the next month or two. We're going to create commercials, social media commercials to show you how you can use this, because you're like, yeah, big deal. I got a monitor in my house. What am I going to do with it? Okay? Well, the thing is, you need to know what you can do with it, getting the data, using it as a complaint, and do something to change your community. I know I'm running out of time, guys. I wish I had more time to speak to y'all, but this is a great information. Air Alliance Houston, we're a nonprofit. We're trying to improve the air quality. If you guys ever have any issues in the community and need a possible air monitor, I don't have a lot to give out since our funding is limited and we're so spread out, but I do have some monitors that I can bring out if there's a big issue going on. I mean, some of the monitors that I have cost about $6,000, $7,000 each. I got a couple that are $5,000. The smaller ones are about $250, $300 each. So we have them. We try to use them where the communities need them. But if you guys need us at any time, we're here. If you guys ever want to be educated more on what's going on, like I said, I grew up here. I live here. Just call me. Let me know. I'm always happy to come out, okay? Thank y'all so much. Very nice to meet everybody.
So good early afternoon. My name is Becky Smith. I'm the Texas Director for Clean Water Action. It's a national organization that's been around since the early 1970s to help pass the original Clean Water Act. So that was the first law that was nationwide to work to reduce pollution in water, and that's all kinds of water, and eventually that's our drinking water as well. And so we're in about 15 states. We're here in Texas. I'm here in Texas, rather, and I live in downtown in the Montrose neighborhood, so I'm also a District 1, Precinct 1 constituent with Rodney Ellis's. I see your staff in the room. Thank you. And so I'm really honored to be invited today to talk about water. So I have some bad news and some good news, and I'd love to hear what you would like to hear first. Anyone? Bad news or good news? The bad news is environmental racism is real. I don't have to tell you that communities of color and low-income communities all over the United States are bearing the brunt of environmental pollution and the health problems that brings. And the lower property values, none of this is made up. That is real. But the good news is that you're not drinking water from right here. Our drinking water, the research I did today to bring to you, which I have to do for every single community every time I go because it's different everywhere, 80% of our drinking water for our community here is not coming from right by these gas fields. So I think that's really good news. I bring my water everywhere I go. I discourage folks generally in our city from drinking water out of plastic bottles if you can avoid it, because we're trying to keep the plastic pollution down as well and encourage the public investment in our public water systems. Right, that's how we keep our water safe, is when there's the money, and also not just the money, but also the public involvement. So everything that Mr. Flores talked about today, this is our community, this is our health, this is our properties and our legacy for our children, to protect our properties and them and ourselves. So Clean Water Action, I'm gonna keep this pretty short, and I will show you a little bit of data here on drinking water in the area and let you know there's some more resources when you want to follow that up beyond today. Since the 1970s, we've been organizing grassroots groups and coalitions, and so I'm part of lots of groups that are represented here today, thankfully, because our whole strategy the entire time is strength in numbers. So Dr. Scott and Dr. Williams have it spot on. It's about building community to hold accountable the regulators who are supposed to be enforcing these environmental laws, and holding accountable the industry who are often the ones pushing the limits or just blowing right through them. So strength in numbers is what we have to continue to build on. And the way that works for us in the water world is to show up at public meetings, continue to ask questions about why there's a smell in your water, or a taste, or a color. This is how we do the work of accountability. So I'm preaching to the choir. Y'all are doing it already. I'd love to be, involved or get a call whenever there's like a specific drinking water concern. But I also want to, think past. Water isn't just drinking water. We're we're known as the Bayou City, right? I didn't know what a bayou was till I moved to Texas 25 years ago, because I'm from Mississippi and Georgia, and we just call it different stuff, but it's rivers, right? It's rivers, and they have a different name. So that's all around us, and it does affect our health. And eventually, that groundwater and the water that runs on the surface, that's what is our drinking water. So real quick, let's see if I can get us to where our drinking water comes from. So what I also had to learn when I moved to Texas a while ago is that we have what we call MUD. Does anybody know what that stands for? Yell it out. Yes, Municipal Utility District. I was like, why is everybody drinking water from MUDs? Like, that doesn't sound right to me. But it's a municipal utility district. And so what they do, there are hundreds and hundreds of them all around us here in this neighborhood, not just one. But they're all purchasing drinking water from one centralized treatment source, so that they're not all trying to do it on their own, which is a good thing when we're looking at big, high-level federal regulations. We want some of those bigger systems to be answering to all those check boxes that we need checked. And so our MUD, a nearby one that I found is Ponderosa Forest Utility District. And like I said, there are lots of them, but everybody around here is purchasing at least 80% of the drinking water is coming from surface water. And specifically, it's San Jacinto River upstream from Lake Conroe and Lake Houston. And that was my 5 minutes, so I will wrap up. But so this water is taken in, it's chlorinated or chloraminated, which you want. It's filtered, it's treated, and it's sold to that local municipal utility district. That doesn't mean there aren't occasionally problems. Pipes, our pipes are old, aging infrastructure. Again, it's the need for public investment. And again, I encourage folks to use your public resource, drink the water if you feel safe enough to do so, and insist on that public investment in our systems, in the pipes. I'll leave my contact information, if I can get it here. There's my name and my email address. Dr. Scott, Dr. Williams, I'm sure will have my number if anybody needs more information in the future. Let me see. I think that's it. The problem, environmental racism is real. There are gas fields in your neighborhood. The solution is holding regulators and private industry accountable to protecting your health, and the strategy is always strength in numbers, and we're happy to be in that fight with you. Thank you.
My name is Christian Pelaez. I'm a community affairs advisor for Commissioner Ellis. The area I oversee encompasses this community from Bush Airport all the way to Jersey Village, Willowbrook. So it's the northern portion of Precinct 1. And I also serve on the environmental justice team. So we advise Commissioner on environmental issues. We work with pollution control and public health to do, the monitoring, the quality, as well as the county attorney. So that is kind of what we do. If you guys have any questions, I'll be around. I'd love to connect with you all. I'm looking to expand my base here in this community, so please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or anything you'd like to talk about. Thank you.
Next person we'd like to recognize, he's a friend of S.A.F.E Diversity Community, of course, but he's a friend of us. We're all, even though he represents Fort Bend, but I think we're all his constituents, and that's State Rep Ron Reynolds. He's also the representative of the Black Caucus, so we'll let him come forward. Come on, give him a hand. He works hard for what he was. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I am so honored to be here, and I want to thank Dr. Scott for inviting me. I'll be brief, but some of you know that I have, for the last 14 years, every session that I've been in the Texas House of Representatives, I've served on the Environmental Regulation Committee. I've used my seniority to stay on that committee because it's so important that we have an advocate that is not in the pockets of industry. Our last speaker, you were absolutely right. Where's our last speaker? Where did she go? Oh, there you go. You were spot on. Everything she said was absolutely true. And again, I know I'm preaching to the choir. Everyone in here understands that environmental justice is real. I've carried the legislation for environmental justice bills. Of course, those bills don't even get a hearing, right? I'm on the committee as the most senior member on the committee, the ranking member on the committee. I can't even get a hearing on environmental justice to even have it heard. They're climate deniers. They don't really believe in science. Our committee, quite frankly, is beholden to industry. I think that there's an overabundance of reliance on industry, that whether it's the Texas Chemical Council, the Texas Oil and Gas Association, basically big business that wants to see more fossil fuels, right? They don't really want to talk about much on renewables, right? We don't have much discussion on wind and solar. That unfortunately, we don't hear that. We hear more railing against the EPA and their clean air standards, and not enough emphasis on reducing greenhouse gas emissions, right? And so I'm gonna continue to work with you all to be that fight, to be at the table, to have that voice, even though in the minority, we can't be silent. Silence is complicity, right? We have been able to make, some modest change, TCEQ sunset, things like that, because of you all being active and engaged. So yes, you're right. We do need to come to those hearings. We do need to testify. You all have come down. We do need to put these things on the record. We do need to work with our other allies in Air Alliance and, Sierra and, environmental justice organizations, because this fight is very real, and it's a matter of life and death. This really is a matter of life and death. And so elections matter, and we need to make sure that we are voting, and then making sure that we're voting for people that are gonna protect the environment and not gonna be just so bought and paid for by the very powerful oil and gas industry. I mean, they have billions of dollars in lobbyists and millions of money that they pay, that they give out in campaign contributions to my colleagues that vote in favor of the legislation that they write. They write the legislation that benefits them, and that is why we're in the position we're in Texas, because we lack the transparency, we lack the accountability, we lack the people with the integrity to put people before politics and special interests. And I like that back there, protect our planet. We deserve clean air. We protect our future. That's true, we do. But unfortunately, every session, we can't get any meaningful legislation passed to hold and put more teeth into protecting our environment, whether it's landfills, concrete batch plants, you name it, right? We see a overabundance of them in Black and brown communities. That's why environmental justice is real, because they don't put those concrete batch plants in River Oaks or other affluent communities. They put them in Black and brown communities. And then they wonder why we have negative health outcomes, right? We see cancer clusters in communities of color, like Fifth Ward. We see industry putting plants up in Pasadena and other places. And so we have to take a look at that, right? And that's why I think that we have to continue to have these conversations. And we have to take this fight to Austin. After the election, we have to be ready for the session and make sure that we are testifying when we have these hearings. And not only that, but making sure that you're telling your state representative, your state senator, where you stand on these issues, because they usually just hear from industry. They need to hear from their constituents. We want them to protect your future and our children's future, because climate change is real, global warming is real. These 100-year incidents are reoccurring because they're not addressing them. And so I appreciate the progress that's been made under the Biden-Harris administration, under Secretary Regan over EPA. They have put in some very, very robust standards that Texas fights tooth and nail. Our Attorney General, Ken Paxton, has fought against all of it. Every single thing that they try to implement that protects and puts clean air and holds industry accountable, they try to tear down, right, in Texas. Texas is one of the states that leads the country in fighting against clean air quality standards, right? So that we all know the assignment. Let's stay engaged. Let's not get weary and well doing, because it is daunting when you do see session after session after session bad legislation. I know, because I've been there. I've been in that minority party. But I want you to know, finally, I want to wrap up by saying, after Winter Storm Uri, we formed the basically the Climate and Environment Caucus. I'm the vice chair of it. The chair is Aaron Zwiener. And so we are being intentional about, advocating for these things and partnering with you all. So use us as a resource. Let us know how we can help you. I mean, I love it when they come to Austin and they come and it's amazing. I mean, we have to continue to do that and make our voices heard. And I see this child there for their future, because if the way we're headed, it's going to be bad, right? Global warming is so real. So anyway, thank you all so much for being here, and I'm looking forward to the 89th legislative session, continuing to work with you all to fight, even though it may be David versus Goliath. I'm not going to be giving up. I'm not going to stop. The oil and gas industry, they're the 800-pound gorilla with the money, but we're going to continue to give them HELL, all right? They're not going to win easy, right? So, and finally, so y'all know the way TCEQ works, the governor appoints the people that oversee TCEQ, right? And y'all know how the Public Utility Commission works, how ERCOT works, right? That's all political stuff. The Railroad Commission that has nothing to do with railroads, it has overseeing the oil and gas industry. That's elected. That's those are statewide offices. So everything goes back to elections, right? I mean, some people say, well, I'm not into politics. Well, politics is into you, okay? Whether it's, women's reproductive rights, voting rights, air quality, it all goes back to politics. It always goes back to elections. And so only way we're going to change TCEQ is if we change the people who are appointing the people that oversee TCEQ, right? The only way we're going to get better legislation passed if we get legislators in there that really care about people and our environment. And so all of it goes back to elections. So make sure we continue to get the word out about voting and voting our values. And that's the only way we're going to change the special interests that are really running our state government right now. It's sad. It breaks my heart when I see bill after bill after bill that I know that they wrote, we just pass, and we put up a fight and then it passes anyway. So we'll keep fighting, but let's do our part to mobilize and change the landscape.
You know what? You just wait, Representative Reynolds. I almost called you Reverend Reynolds because I was like, yes, preach that. You reminded me of something very important, which is my organization. We do make endorsements in elections, and we have endorsed a candidate for the Railroad Commission, and it's on your ballot this Tuesday. Her name is Catherine Colbert. She's running against an incumbent that has millions of dollars. That's who runs our oil and gas regulation. So thank you for that reminder. We have a direct path to elect a different Railroad Commission commissioner. Who knew? That's what's regulating our local gas field. Her name's Catherine Colbert. She's the challenger to the incumbent that'll be on your ticket, Christy Craddock. Please consider voting for Catherine Colbert for the Railroad Commission. Clean Water Action does endorsements. It's not anybody else's voice but our own doing the endorsement here. Please consider that your path for a vote.
And I'll I'll just say this, and this is nothing against her personally, Christy Craddock. She may be a fine person, but she is totally industry. And her dad serves with me in the legislature, Tom Craddock, and he is totally with industry. I served with him on the Energy Resources Committee, and you know they're basically one and the same. I mean, they're very aligned with everything that the oil and gas industry wants. Every single thing. They basically hook, line, and sinker. And so, you know, this is a very critical election. We get caught up in president. That's great. That's important. But these local elections are really where the rubber meets the road. You know, for a railroad commission, most people just skip it. But it's so important that we have a advocate there. County commissioner. I mean, I'm so happy Commissioner Ellis' office here. He's on the ballot, actually. It's so important that we have local representatives that are there to advocate for our interests. So I'm glad you endorsed that candidate. I've already voted for, you know, it's statewide. No matter where you live, you can vote for statewide. Just like U.S. Senator, everyone can vote for state Supreme Court, Texas Supreme Court. All of us, no matter where you live, you can vote. You can't vote for me unless you live in District 27, but that's a single member district. But everybody, you can call your relatives in El Paso and you know, wherever they live in Dallas and Fort Worth. This is a very critical election to vote for these statewide candidates, you know. So again, thank you all so much. This is great. I really appreciate this room and you all being engaged. You all have been such on the front line. Every session I see y'all, and it's always refreshing because you don't see a lot of people. Honestly, I'll say this final thing. There are not a lot of people of color that come to the Capitol to advocate for things. So we need you all to make your voices heard. Most of the people that come advocate are special interest groups, lobbyists, because it takes money to take off of work, to travel. I mean, it's expensive. It's a sacrifice. So make sure that you do that because this is so much important work, and our office will be there to guide you and assist you. You know how to reach us, so let us know whatever we need. You know, we'll provide you that because it can be intimidating, but we'll help you. We'll help you get registered to testify, get you signed up on the kiosk. My staff will help you once we get to that point. So it may seem intimidating, but we'll walk you through it. And trust me, they've done it, and we'll help you.
The electorate that we need, that we're counting on, is an engaged and an educated electorate. Some folks, not so much. They don't want you to know. They want you to listen to sound bites and follow Facebook algorithms. But we want you to know the facts. So we're going to move right along. We thank our panelists again. If you can stay, please stay for the Q&A. And now we're going to bring up our next group.
Okay, so we just heard some very powerful things, but what resonated with me was Martin Luther King's speech on perseverance, and he said, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. And so we have runners, walkers, crawlers in this room. And so each one of us, we have to play our part to keep moving on. Something that's also very important for us to realize is that it's the faith-based institutions that support the oil and gas industries. So you may wonder, well, why does he get so much support from the faith-based communities? Well, this is because of organizations like Oilfield Christian Fellowship. Oilfield Christian Fellowship. The American Petroleum Institute, which is a faith-based institution. The National Association of Evangelicals, which is a faith-based institution that supports the oil and gas industries. So this is really chess. And what has to happen is our faith-based institutions have to counter the organizing that happens with faith-based institutions that support oil and gas industries and support pro-industry candidates. Without further ado, I would like to have some. I would like to have some very important people come to the table. These folks are giants and are really, really fighters for us. Reverend Caldwell, would you please come up? For me, that's Uncle Reverend Caldwell. Yep. Please come up and have a seat. I have Uncle Mr. John Beard come up. These are gentlemen that I look up to in the environmental justice movement. And also Omar Ahmed, please come up. And so I believe what I like to do is, one, you guys are going to be hearing questions from me to these gentlemen, but also I think it'd be great to have them introduce themselves and maybe get some questions from you all.
All right, my name is Omar Ahmed. I work with the Coalition for Environment, Equity, and Resilience. I got my start working in education. From there, I moved into mutual aid space, focusing on abolition and then food sovereignty. I worked for a bit as baby brain development researcher. And then from there, I stepped into the environmental justice space. And, one thing I found out through all of this work is, unfortunately, it all comes back to environmental justice. Mm-hmm. It affects every single aspect of our lives. Most of my work is outside of Harris County, so the folks from Sear that you're usually gonna see is gonna be Stefania, who is our coalition director. It's gonna be Carmen and Andy, who mostly work in the Northeast. They've been doing a lot of great work with NAC, as well as West Street Recovery, getting homes retrofitted, establishing resilience hubs so that, whenever the state disaster hubs are, opening way too late for people to seek shelter during our storms, we're trying to establish things that are for us and by us, because when outside actors try to establish things, the people who are most in need are never brought in.
Thank you, Omar. I'll have you pass it to Mr. Beard real quick. Introduce himself and organization. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. How are you all doing? Just noticing out there, we got a little rain coming in. I was hoping it would hold off, but it's good because there's two things you got to know. That we all need a little dirt to grow, and just as well as you have the sunshine, you need the rain. So I'm happy to be here with you all this afternoon. I'm John Beard, Jr. I'm the founder and CEO of the Port Arthur Community Action Network in little old Port Arthur, Texas, just down the highway from you. And PECAN, as we call it, is an environmental, social justice, and community development organization. And we basically came about simply because the needs of the community in terms of addressing environmental pollution, degradation, and diminished quality of life and living standards needed to be addressed. And I felt that it was not being addressed in a way that was conducive to improving the condition of things. So I got together with other members of my community, and being a former city councilman, having served with them and brought those folks to the table, and we were able to make some moves. And it takes work, it takes effort, it takes advocacy. But the key thing you have to remember is that if you love the community, you have to serve the community. You cannot serve the community, you cannot serve and help people if you don't love them, if you don't care for them, if you are not touched in some way by what is happening to them where they live. So it's important to be aware of those things that are happening in the community, but also to act on them, to educate yourself, and then share with others the knowledge that you have and bring them into what we call the movement. Because it's going to take all of us. As someone said earlier, these companies have billions of dollars, but there are billions of us. And I've never seen in history, if you look back to the course of history, when people get together and decide to change things and to move and to make something happen, they have been successful. So I'm not going to say, like I think Ron Reynolds said earlier about this, talking about us, in these fights. We've already won the fight, y'all. Whether you know it or not, we've already won. But what we have to do is finish the battle. We have to finish the work. And if we put in the work, the battle is already won. We know what happened with David and Goliath didn't win. Thank you.
We'll pass it to Reverend Caldwell. Yep.
Thank you all. I'm Reverend James Caldwell. I am the director and founder of COCO, which stands for Coalition of Community Organizations. And by the way, we're not one of those faith-based organizations that supports oil and gas industry.
Yeah, give it up for that.
Well,
give
wanna
Coco a
clear
hand.
that up.
Let me find out.
I want to make that clear. COCO basically is what it said it is. It is a coalition of community organizations, and that includes institutions, churches, businesses, schools, organizations, civic clubs, community groups, but mostly residents like you. Okay, we want you to be informed and educated, and we want to be able to connect you to resources. My colleagues, and a lot of them, well, practically all of them, I work with, Ms. Powers, Juan Flores, I mean, all of the others, Becky, we have worked together for years. It's my friend. I haven't seen him in a while, but yeah, we've known each other for years. Omar with SEER, I'm on SEER's board. Ms. Sandra said earlier a quote that is our motto, and it's basically, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. You need to get off that menu and have a seat at the table. Now you're beginning that process, becoming educated, becoming informed, and not just having that knowledge, knowing that impact, but now what are you going to do about it? We can come up here, we can make all these PowerPoints and presentations, and your jaws can drop, and you can have that Scooby-Doo moment, ooh, you know? But that's all it is, unless you do something. Brother Beard just mentioned the victory is ours, but do you want to claim it? And if you want to claim it, that means you're going to have to do something. You'll probably hear me say a lot of quotes, and one of them is from our former our president, Barack Obama. And it just simply says, we are the change we seek. What's happening here, what's happening in Port Arthur, what's happening in Fort Bend, what happens in Houston and Harris County, if there's going to be a change, it's going to have to come from we, us, because we're the change that we seek. Thank you.
So Omar, a question for you. So if there's someone new to environmental justice, what is your advice for them to leave here to make an immediate impact in their communities and even in their homes? What's some advice you have for them to make an immediate impact?
I would say everybody is needed in the environmental justice space. You don't have to be college educated, you don't have to be an engineer. Whatever you are good at, whatever interests you, and that's what's going to keep you activated, is doing what interests you. If you're in a Zoom meeting and you find yourself bored, do something else. But we need artists to be able to make flyers, to be able to make statements, right? We need former people who used to be in the oil and gas who have inside information. We need people to be able to leave public comment. I'm hoping to see Reynolds at the TCEQ meeting, where we'll be trying to get the coal plant in Fort Bend shut down. And anybody could leave a public comment, because they're going to try to bring these industries into your backyard, and you got to show up and say, we don't want it. There's no negotiation. We don't want it, because they will take the inch you give and take miles and miles from it. But what can you do as an individual? One, I'm gonna say, first try to find out what's here, what's local, because there are so many secret industries that are already here that you might not know are negatively harming you. Next, ask your elders. Talk to your elders, because they knew what was harming them decades before there were the statistics to back it up. So just a real quick show of hands, who here has someone in their immediate family, that's your parents, your siblings, or your children, who was diagnosed with cancer? Just a show of hands. I want you all to look around real quick. Is near everyone, right? And they might take a decade or two to come out with a report saying that this is harm, but if it's in your family, that's not normal. It's not normal for this many people to be affected by these things. And so trusting that community knowledge, trusting your elders, that's the biggest thing you can do.
Yep.
And getting the youth involved early. I know I see some kids in the room. I know Safe Diversity Communities is doing a great job with their student programs, and I really admire that. And that's what we need to be doing the most.
Yep, John, you've been all over the world, of course, all over the region. You know pretty much everybody in this movement. You spoke to something earlier about the battle is won. Why should the audience really appreciate the small victories? Like today is a victory. Why should they appreciate small victories in such a big, big problem, which could really get us down?
Michael, I'm glad you brought that up, and I'll give you the background on why I say the battle is already won. We just have to put in the work. But it's important and crucial, as Omar was saying just a minute ago, that everybody has a part to play. God has given you a unique talent, a skill. You may not even know it, but he's going to place you where you're going to be most effective, because he's going to touch your spirit and your heart and say, here's what you need to do. Sister Scott and Sister Williams and others got involved in this through their educational work and expanding that into educating people, educating communities. But now going back to what Michael said, and I'm gonna steal a line from a friend of mine, Tony Brown. They had Tony Brown's Journal, came on public TV for a number of years, probably still on. I haven't seen it in a bit. But Tony had a saying, you know, it's easy to get up in the morning and fight when you know the battle's already won. And he said, well, Tony, how you know it's already won? Well, he said, because I've read the book. I've seen the movie before. You know, it's easy to know what's happening when you've seen the movie already. He said, well, what was the movie? He said, well, the movie started out like this. It said, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That was the beginning. That's where it all started. They said, okay, Tony, I got that. But, you know, stories have a beginning, and a middle, and an end. What happened in the middle? Well, in the middle, quite simply, he gave his only begotten Son as ransom for you and me, that we might have eternal life, that we might have a better life, or as I said, live life more abundantly here. It's not just about the hereafter, it's about the here. That's why he set man and woman in the garden. So he said, well, okay, I've got all of that, but now, what's the end like? How does this end? And it said, behold, I make all things new again, a new heaven and a new earth. Well, if there's going to be a new earth, don't you think we can't destroy the one we already have? If he's going to renew it and make it better, that's what has to happen. So it's easy to get up every morning with a smile on your face and fight and get in it, because you already know the outcome. You already know that if I put in the work, it's going to lead to something good and great, and we will win in the end. So as I like to say sometimes, my bedroom faces the east. And every morning at this stage of my life, when God gives me the opportunity to open my eyes and see the sun glinting through the curtains and the blinds, I know it's going to be a good day. Because that's one more day, another chance he's given me to fight to make a difference just by being who I am. Having a smile on my face, a good, kind word for somebody, and some encouragement. Because we all need to be lifted up and helped. Because when we lift each other up, then we lift this movement up. When we lift this movement up, we change things. We make a difference.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Reverend Caldwell, so as I indicated, I'm the executive director of Counterstream Media, and previously to this role, I was a community strategist with the organization Taproot Earth, and was able to just learn from people like Mr. Beard and Reverend Caldwell around these issues. But I'm also an expert in environmental justice because I grew up across from an Exxon chemical plant in North Baton Rouge. You hear a lot about Cancer Alley right now, but before it was that term, I was in it. And my father worked in Exxon all his life, and he's had 7 strokes since retiring. So I'm not just here because I'm an alumni of Texas Southern University and Millsaps College and a doctorate from Columbia University. I'm here because this is very important. And people like Reverend Caldwell, he's really a giant. Let me tell you why. He has more in his brain than, he's forgotten more than I can remember. I organized a solidarity ride, and we looked at housing injustice and impacts of eminent domain, and Reverend Caldwell was one of the captains, one of the experts. And every spot in Fifth Ward, let me tell you about this spot. This spot is what used to be here. Let me tell you about this spot. This spot is what used to be here. And Representative Reynolds spoke about something very important in terms of activism, but you know the state took over, of course, you know this, they took over Houston ISD because of one school in Fifth Ward. And that school is probably the most impacted environmental justice high school in the state, right? So there's a connection. But Reverend Caldwell, my question to you is, based on all that you've seen and all that you've experienced in this city, what motivates you to keep going?
Okay, that's a tough question. After the sermon from Judge Beard, I thought we was finna leave.
Yeah. We'll take up collections after this.
Yeah, the collection will follow.
Yeah, what ahead.
But Mike, that's and thank you for that. But as far as being an expert, I'm still in the learning and growing process. We all are. I would like to say that, yeah, call me. I have the answers, all this stuff here, but that's not true. What motivates me is what Mike said, what Omar said, what Mr. Beard have said, what others have said and spoken, because I see it every day. You see it. I live it every day. I smell it every day. And I understand that it has gone on for decades. This is just not today and tomorrow. Not only have I lived through it, and I'm gonna just put it out there, I'm 71 years old. You know what I mean? Not only have I lived through it, but I've seen others live through it. Talking about cancer a moment ago, my father was a longshoreman. He worked on the docks for 38 years at the Port of Houston, and he died from prostate cancer after 38 years. You've heard about the water and air pollution and ground pollution. We're talking about Superfund sites, toxic sites, batch plants, cement, metal recyclers. All of the above, all these things are impacting. You heard about the water quality. The city of Houston, Harris County has never met the federal air quality. Never. Since it was established in mid-80s or something. I see Lisa over there, she knows all the answers. And this is what you have to fight against, not just for me, but for my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, but not just for them, but for my neighbor, my neighbor's kids, the strangers that just moved across the street. Am I really concerned, and do I really have a compassion about them, their life? Is it personal, or is it just about me? Why am I a part of this? Not just because I'm a preacher, but because I love life. We want to live life and live it more abundantly. And the only way that we can do that is that we have to be prepared, and it was stated briefly earlier, to fight that good fight of faith. Faith, substance of things hoped for. I want to live in a clean environment. I want to drink clean water. I want the air. I want my housing. And you have to be willing to connect those dots. When we talk about environmental issues, we have tendency to get tunnel vision. It's just air, water, quality, ground, all that. But no, it helps. It affects your health. It affects your housing. It affects academic growth. It affects the economy, income inequality, and you have to be willing to see the big picture, not just get tunnel vision and focus on one thing, and understand that this fight is not a sprint. It's a marathon. So if I have anything to say, if you're prepared to become a part of this, Dr. Scott and them mentioned they've been doing this for 20 years. What is it, 20? Well, I've been doing it for 17. But it's a marathon. The small victories that you gain in the process, by all means, grab that, stick it in your pocket, hold on to it, and lean and move towards the next.
Thank you so much. Guys, give it up for him. So, as we close out in the last few minutes, one thing that, I like to, in terms of health, I'm passionate about looking at what vitamin deficiencies do to the body. But as I travel and as I build relationships with folks, what I also find is that we have a networking deficiency in our communities. We have yes, everybody clap, because we do. The reason we have a networking deficiency is because we've been made to believe that Instagram and Facebook serve as a networking piece, and that's not. So the revolution will not be on our screens. Yes. It will not be computerized. It will not be AI. So as a part of this closing out activity, and it works, listen, if I get a call from Mr. Beard, I know what's in his community because he took me in his car, in his Challenger, to go to each site within the community. I know what's happening. I know what's in Fifth Ward because my first teaching role was in Fifth Ward in 1999. And the young people looked just like me and was going through the same thing I went through in North Baton Rouge. And I said, you know what, it's bigger than just education. So we have to cure our networking deficiency. So here's what I want us to do at this moment. Each of these panelists are going to give you their email address. Take their email address. Ask them a question. And here's your prompt. My name is so-and-so. After you break here, I met you at this summit, and I just want to say hello. Or I just want to ask you a question. Because, again, what happens oftentimes in these spaces is people don't follow up. We leave and we go to our different places, and all of this knowledge goes away. And we have to stop that. We have to stop engaging just for practice, and we have to engage for that marathon. So I'll have Omar go first. Omar is going to give his email, and you're going to take it in your phone, or you're going to write it down. And then a homework assignment is, by the end of the day, Omar should be flooded with emails, and he'll check his spam. Omar?
Okay. I'm going to give y'all a second. Get your phones, your pencils.
Phones, pencils, however.
Okay, so first, my name is Omer with an E. Just going to correct that. No shame, no worries.
Okay.
But it's Omer at CEER Houston.org. And I'll repeat that. It's OMER at CEER Houston.org.
All right. Yes, clap for that network. Clap for
Okay, here it is, real simple, real easy. The name is John Beard Jr. The email is jbeardjr, JBEARDJR, at yahoo.com. And adding to what Michael said about communication, what we have to do is, to win this battle in our neighborhoods and communities, we got to go door to door, hand to hand, heart to heart. It's close-in combat, y'all. And if we don't save each other, who will in our communities? So we have to establish our own communication. What it is, telephone, telegraph, go to the barber shop, the beauty shop, you got more communication there than you probably have on the internet.
Yep.
So we've got to utilize what's endemic to our community, what's a part of us and our culture.
Yeah.
Okay, again.
I love it.
It's J. Beard Jr., JBEARDJR. J. Beard Jr. at Yahoo, YAHOO.com.
Awesome.
Y'all make sure y'all call him, okay? Keep him busy. I have a personal email, but I have some cards with me as well, so I'll be more than happy to share our business cards with you. But our email address is cocohoustonnow@gmail.com. So feel free to email us. What we have a database of about maybe 8 to 10,000 now. I lose count, and it's pretty much in line with what our vision statement is. Our vision statement is to inform, educate, and connect to resources this generation of communities and the next. So see, this is an ongoing process. It does not stop. So we look forward to having you share with us via email, and if you'd like to become a part of our database, then share your contact information, your name, your phone number, and your email address. And what we do basically is we share community relevant information to you. We're a nonprofit as well, so can't do no advertising for you, and can't do no fundraising for you, but please share us your information. Yes. Will you repeat your email address? cocohoustonnow@gmail.com.
Thank you, guys. Guys, give it up for the panel. They've informed us, they've motivated us, and we are now connected. So thank you, guys.
I just want to say we couldn't do what we do without our sponsors. I'd like to thank Liza with TSU. Also Melanie with Better Brazoria. And the man of the hour, Counterstream, Mr. Micah. Also, I don't know where Pastor Chapman is. I'm trying to find him getting the picture. Where Pastor Chapman? And sponsoring the building for us, okay? So we're gonna get a picture. Wait till she can get Pastor Chapman. We're gonna get a picture. So I want to thank them so much for sponsoring this.
And we want all our panelists to stay that are still here for a picture as well, at the back.
Okay, here we go. Okay.
Thank you, Pastor Chapman and Hosanna Lutheran Church.